Hello, third graders. My name is Mr. Trevor Budrum, and this lesson is called Comparing Fractions. This lesson will cover 3NFA3 Part D, compare two fractions with the same numerator or the same denominator by reasoning about their size. Today's learning goal will be, after viewing this presentation, you all will compare fractions based upon their relative size to each other with 100% accuracy, and that just means that all of you will be able to compare fractions with the greater than, equal to, or less than sign after this presentation. The lesson purpose is to ensure that students can identify fractions based on their size, because as you go on through school, you'll be working with fractions more and more, and it's important to know which ones are bigger than others or smaller or equal to. Just a side note, I would recommend that you take notes on this PowerPoint because you'll find a lot of useful information, and it's good to have notes just to check back on. Before we talk about comparing fractions, let's review what a fraction is. A fraction is a part of a whole. In this example, we have 5 cows. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, and here's 5. What fraction of them are facing left? So here's one facing left, here's another facing left. So there's 2 cows facing left out of 5 total cows. So this 2 represents the parts. This 5 represents the parts per whole. So what this means is that the 2 cows right here, these 2 cows make up 2/5 of the entire cow population here. Okay, so now that we're done defining fractions, let's move on to comparing fractions. So, the first part of learning to compare fractions is the compare symbol. So the first 2 symbols are greater than and less than symbols. And what I like to think of with these symbols are an alligator mouth. So there's the teeth. So it's kind of like an alligator. So the alligator will always chomp on the greater number because that's more food. And then next up we have the equal to sign. And this simply means that the 2 fractions are equivalent. They both show the same exact value. Now that we've covered the basics, we can move on to the main part of the lesson, comparing fractions. In this case, we'll be comparing fractions with the same numerator. This numerator that I'm talking about is this top number. In both these cases, it's 1. So we have 1/2 and 1/5. Now, I want you to compare these numbers in your own notes with the less than, greater to, or equal to sign. So I want you to pause this video now, and when you're ready, you can resume it. And we're back. So the first part of comparing fractions is to relate the fraction back to the meaning of a fraction. So this 1/2 really means 1 part of 2 parts per whole. And that line just means per. And this 1/5 is 1 part of 5 parts per whole. Okay, let's get rid of these. And we'll make these fractions a little smaller so we have room for a picture to show you guys that way too. So I'm going to do 2 vertical lines. And it's important to note that these lines are going to be the same length because they both represent the same number, and that is 1. 1 whole. So the first one will be 1/2. So to do that, we need to split it up in half. So we'll split it right down the middle, and we'll X in the 1/2. So that's 1/2. And then same thing for the 1/5, except we need to split it up into 5 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's your 5th part. So we'll X in the 1/5, and then there's your 1/5. So from this picture, since these are both the same size, you can easily tell that this 1/5 is smaller than that 1/2. So what sign would you use to show that? you'd use the greater than sign, right? And this just means that 1/2 is greater than 1/5. Let's move on. Alright everyone, now we're going to be comparing fractions with the same denominator. And the denominator is this bottom number. So in this case, we have 1/3 and 2/3. They both have 3 at the bottom. So we'll relate these back to the definition of a fraction. So we have 1 part of 3 parts per whole. We have 2 parts of 3 parts per whole. Again, just like comparing fractions with a numerator, we're gonna draw a picture. So let's move these up again, and we'll draw the 1/3. So again, it's important that both of these bars are the same length because they both represent 1. There's your 1. And the first one is 1/3. So we split it into 3 parts, and here's your 1/3. The second one's 2/3. So we split it up into 3 parts again, and you have 2/3. So there's the 2/3. That's what's x'd. There's the 1/3. So, from this picture, it's pretty clear that the 2/3 is larger than this 1/3. Am I right? So, what comparing symbol would you use for this? Would you use greater than, less than, or equal to? You would use less than, because this means that 1/3, your 1/3 is less than 2/3. Alright, I think that wraps it up, class. I hope you learned something new today, and we'll see you next time. Bye!